Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome in. And today, well, first off, my name's Sugi Yamagawa, and today on VTubing My Slow Life Hobbies in My 30s, we're going to be yapping about edible plants. I have quite a few edible plants around here. Well, I guess we'll introduce the clover, white clover. Trifolium alba is the Latin name for these guys. But yeah, we're gonna be doing some yapping about edible plants. We're gonna talk about, most of our discussion is gonna focus on wild edible plants. We're not gonna be so focused on just edible. It's more gonna be on the wild edible plant side versus the edible, well, more of the wild stuff versus like actual homegrown stuff. Granted, we're gonna, as sort of the finishing thing for today, I'm gonna make tempura with the white clover flowers, primarily because I've heard about people using black locust blossoms, which is a tree native to my area. Its Latin name is Robinia pseudoacadia. And the tree smells amazing when it's in flower, by the way. It is a wonderful smelling tree, and has yields of wood that has a lot of really good uses. But yeah, for today I have plant samples, which I have collected in a great deal of hurry, because that might perhaps be my biggest mistake for today, is not taking more time to collect samples. So I will say I'm a little bit limited on my sample selection as far as like plants, but mostly this is also going to be like a continuation of the earlier talk I did. Which actually, when did I do that? Because I did a spring talk about spring edible plants, which, yeah, that was like 2 months ago. And now we're here. And yeah, so I don't know if I'm going to go through these one by one as much. Well, actually, yeah, well, we can go through them one by one. But also, I do want to do, so this is going to be like more kind of like early summer themed. Granted, there's definitely some, there's actually plants that are good to collect this time of year that I didn't have the good fortune to collect. A good one would be dandelions, but I did also talk about dandelions at the previous time I had this discussion with chat. But there are plants that are available now that weren't necessarily so available to me then. Like, I don't think the clovers were blooming yet, and I've also got, because I've actually got 2 species of clover here. This clover over here, just above my head, that's actually red clover, Trifolium rubens. And I should have probably actually gathered some oxalis, which is a common look-alike plant for the clovers. And then I also have some clover leaves further down in here in my little bin off to the side. And then I've got more samples back there. So I think first things first, there is a thing that I would like to talk about and discuss, and that is this. Wait. If I select the right thing in OBS, which I need to do. Okay. There we go. Okay. So everyone, you need to know about this. You need to pay attention, take notes. And this is chestnut. And most importantly, in my location on the rotation, it has just finished its flowering session. So basically, if you're south of the Ohio River Valley in the eastern US, the chestnuts have finished flowering. But if you're north of the Ohio River Valley, the chestnuts are in flower. And we don't have food yet. We don't have food yet, but the flowers are how we find chestnut trees. Because, as you can see, it is a tree that has these really showy, long stems of flowers. And chestnut is pretty much the only tree that looks like this, and is one of the few trees that will bloom during this time of year. So it makes it really easy to spot these trees from a long ways away. Hence, it is very, like, this is the reason why I am saying now, keep an eye out for chestnuts. So that way you can collect chestnuts later, because now's the easy time to find them. So that's our, like, first one. Granted. But very important, very important. Nope, no food yet. But we can talk about past food. So, next sample is this guy. Mulberry. Let's see. I've got this, actually. Let me get a smaller stem here, because this stem actually shows a lot more of the identification characteristics of mulberry. So this is mulberry. This is Morus alba, and perhaps its most distinctive characteristic is mitten-shaped leaves. There's a couple other trees that will have like a general mitten shape to their leaves. Sassafras, for instance. However, though, as you can see, our leaf margins, we have all these lobes on them. So, where sassafras will have a smooth margin, and you also tend to have a bit more, what do I want to say? There's a little bit more variety with the sassafras leaves, because sometimes they'll be, because with sassafras, sometimes they'll be single lobe. Granted, this is also a good time of year we can collect sassafras leaves, but I was negligent in my preparation, so. But yeah, this is mulberry. Pretty distinctive tree. It has like a reddish orange bark to, well, more of an orangish bark to it, and it will actually make a blackberry-like fruit. That fruit, for my location on rotation, that generally is best found, seen, and eaten fresh early June. For northern folks, mulberry is probably either coming into season, or who knows, you might be able to find some, especially if you're like up around the Great Lakes area. I think not blueberries. That's a different plant. Also wild, but, and I also grow blueberries, but those are more of a cultivated crop versus you go out in the woods and find it. Granted, I can go out in the woods and find them. It's just there's limits on what I can do as far as like going out into the woods and finding wild edible plants, because there'd be rules about that. But yeah. So this tree has finished doing its thing, but mulberries are absolutely delicious, and you should eat them. You should very much eat your mulberries, simply because this is actually an invasive tree species in Eastern North America, because this was brought over to Eastern North America so that way people wanted to try cultivating silkworms. And silkworms eat the leaves of the mulberry. So the mulberries were brought over, and the whole silkworm cultivation thing kind of just didn't really work out all that well. And now we have a very invasive tree species, mulberry. So whenever you're eating mulberries, you're doing your part to prevent the spread of a invasive species. Now, there is, however, a native mulberry. And so this is Morus alba, white mulberry. That's the invasive one. And then there's also Morus rubra, red mulberry. Red mulberry is actually native. You usually find it as a secondary understory tree, usually on wet sites. I I do occasionally find those out in the woods around me, but unfortunately, I do not own my own set of woods, which is something I want to own someday, but not yet. But I do have a homestead, and I do have enough area that grows plenty of good food, and yeah. But this is also something I just like look out for when I'm out and about. So that's the mulberries, which we can just chuck them off to the side. So, ooh, yeah, let's grab that one. Well, actually, no. No. We're talking about food that's not quite ready yet. And here's food that's not quite ready yet. So, this is blackberry. The Latin name is Rubus? Yes, Rubus is the genus name. I don't remember the Latin for the species name. Mostly because I'm more of a tree expert when it comes to plants, and edible plants are kind of a secondary thing for me. I'm mostly focused on, ooh, this is food, I can eat it, type of deal. But yeah, as you can see, we got some color going on here. It's definitely starting to get some good redness with some of the fruit. So we are getting, well, I'm getting really close to blackberry season actually being realized here soon. So generally speaking, for me, I mostly keep an eye out for fresh blackberries starting the first week of July, which we're getting pretty close to that. That's going to be next week. So I'm going to have to, so over the next couple of weeks, I am definitely going to be spending a fair amount of time picking these guys. Last year, I actually grew so many blackberries. I made blackberry wine just because I had so much and I didn't know what to do with it. And I was just like, okay, I have all this stuff. I kind of don't know what to do with it because I didn't want to because at one point I had like 20 plus pounds of blackberries. And I'm like, I don't want to freeze this much. I don't want to lose that much freezer room. So I made blackberry wine, and then the harvest that came in after that, I froze, and I actually still have some of those frozen berries in my freezer right now, which probably should get around to composting them at this point, because they're probably a little bit donezo, but yeah. But yeah, blackberries. And this is actually a thornless variety. There's no prickles on it or anything. Granted, in my experience with the thornless varieties, they're not as sweet as the thorned ones are. The thorned ones tend to be a lot sweeter versus these. These tend to be not as sweet, but still good eating. Still plenty good eating there. So, okay, so that's like future food there. I want to grab the current food. That's a pain in the butt in all sorts of ways. So, behold the sonkus. Ever make ice cream, sulfur, or gountine with them? Ooh. I've never done anything like that. But granted, actually speaking, I do want to try making like some ice cream on stream at some point. That's something I definitely want to try doing, is making some ice cream. But yeah, you know what? That would actually be a way to preserve blackberries. And the thing is, with me, I'm not really that much of a jam person, so I don't really do like standard preserves when it comes to fruit. So for me, generally fruit is either best preserved by drying or freezing or turning it into alcohol. Granted, if you have like way too much, generally speaking, going the alcohol route is generally the better way. Granted, though, speaking of other ways to preserve fruits, I kind of like the idea of maybe doing some fruit leather. Because, I mean, as a kid, I loved fruit leather as a kid. But I don't need it too much as an adult because I've kind of gotten away from sweet stuff. Because, yeah, sweet stuff isn't super good for you. But, yeah, I will eventually do ice cream, and you know what? That might actually be a fun thing to try out. And also, thanks for stopping by, Dad's Little Shop. But yeah, we have Sonkus. Well, unfortunately, earlier in the week, these leaves were soft enough for me to actually, they wouldn't be too pokey, which, as you can see, is a very pokey plant. Yeah, good old fruit leather. But yes, this is Sonkus. This is a member of the Compositaceae family, which is an absolutely massive plant family that includes like your sunflowers, your dandelions, and it does have a yellow flower, which you can kind of see a little bit of that yellowness here in this closed flower. I'm pretty sure one of the reasons why there wasn't like an overflowing abundance of flowers as I was gathering my samples for today came down to the fact that I literally had a massive thunderstorm just roll on through. So this is Sonkus. It is an edible plant. So a few things to keep in mind so a lot of people will look at this and think it's like a thistle. It's not a thistle. It's related to thistle because thistle is also in the Compositaceae family. But this is kind of something quite a bit different. And a really big characteristic, which I want to, is the leaves will grasp the stem, and then you kind of get these like, they'll kind of like scoop around the stem, and you will see as you go down the stem, all the leaves will do that. It is a very identifying characteristic of this genus. Also, you have yellow flowers. Also, Sonkus is a bit shorter. Like the sample here, probably a bit longer than 2 feet. Whereas like thistles can get like more than 6 feet, which you can also eat thistles. Generally, the edible parts of a thistle is when the thistle makes its like huge, big stem, you can cut it down, and then you want to, at the base, which if this was a thistle, like this area right here, you can take off the stems, the leaves, and the outer bits. Wear gloves, because thistles are pretty sharp. This pokes me. This pokes me. I can't grasp this really hard, but I can handle it. I can play with it, and it doesn't really hurt all that much. But you can basically kind of make like a vegetable out of the inner part of the stem after you take like all the outer stuff, and then you can slice it and dice it, and you kind of use it like as a cucumber in a salad or something. Granted, I think it's more bitter than, it's probably a lot more bitter than actual food crops. This is a general thing with wild edible plants, is they have not been domesticated for reasons, and generally that relates to the bitterness of taste. Which, going back to Sonkus, I'm trying to see if I can do it to do a thing, which it's kind of doing. So you can also break the stem leaves, and sort of like a dandelion, they have a slightly milky sap to them, which I'm kind of getting out, but I'm not really getting out all that well. But yeah. And now, generally speaking, as far as like handling of the Sonkus, you kind of want to cook this. Granted, I've ripped the edge off. I'm going to take a little bit of a bite. You know what? That wasn't as bitter. Oh, there's the aftertaste. The initial taste was like really nice, like clean, crisp veg. And then you get like bitter dandelion aftertaste afterwards. But yeah, generally speaking, zonkus you want to kind of like cook. It's more of a pot herb. And if you have any sort of like foraging book, generally speaking, you'll hear the word pot herb thrown around a lot. And generally speaking, those are plants you want to throw in like your soups, your stews. They go into a pot. Don't want to eat them raw. Zonkus is a really good example of something you do not want to eat raw. Mostly because it has kind of a texture issue. And you don't want to like that texture issue in your mouth. I didn't know you could eat plants that do that white latex ooze thing. Yeah. Like dandelion's like the most common example of the white latex ooze thing. But yeah, dandelion is perfectly edible. Lots of people eat dandelions. Dandelions are very edible, and they do the white ooze thing. And this is kind of, when it comes to foraging, you have to know your individual species and what to look for in them, and then you have to know the right time of year and method of preparation. You can't throw zonkus here in the salad. Now, white clover flowers, you could probably throw that in this. You can get away with that in the salad. But yeah, there's not really a whole lot of stuff you can just be like, take and like, okay. There's not a lot of like rules like that in like wild edible plants. There are a few though, very few. One is if it has white berries, leave it alone. Generally speaking, leave white berries alone. Granted, the most common thing around here, where I live, that produces white berries is a fun little plant that goes by the Latin name Toxodendron granicus? Yeah, which is poison ivy. Poison ivy is the most common white-berried plant where I live. I also think poison sumac has a white berry, but poison sumac is also not native to my area, so I don't worry about it. Granted, also poison sumac's more of a swamp species. But yeah, generally speaking, white berries, no. And then another rule of thumb you can use is if it looks like a mint and smells like a mint, it is a mint. So examples of wild mints, well, the most common like, oh wait a second. Wait a shit. I have mint-like plant, but that's, here. Sorry, the sample's mixed up in other samples, and I'm wanting to pull it out of my other sample, because I did pull some of this. There we go. So, this here is called Creeping Charlie. But one of the most identifying characteristics of a mint, and this is also a member of the mint family, it doesn't smell like a mint though, is all mints will have a square stem to them. All mints will have a square stem. Like basil, for instance, has a square stem. My wife once bought home yarrow flowers to dye with my daughter. She didn't know that yarrow and hemlock looked super. Thankfully, she didn't accidentally pick hemlock. Oh yeah. You do not want to pick hemlock. That's why you have to know. That's why you have to actually know the individuals, like plants. Also, in Eastern North America, I think it's like what, like 10 to 15-ish% of our plants are edible. For example, this plant I'm holding here, Creeping Charlie, is kind of edible. It's technically more of a medicinal plant, which even if you like crush it and handle it like this and give it a nice smell, it smells medicine-y. So you can just look at this and just be like, no, this is a more medicinal plant versus an edible one. And I generally speaking, for me personally, I only stick to the edible stuff. And particularly to the good stuff. Which we're gonna eventually get to the good stuff. We're actually doing pretty alright in time. But yeah, Creeping Charlie, mints. If it looks like a mint, you got a mint. Well, it looks and smells like a mint. You have a mint. So, I think that's enough yapping about Sonkus. Let's actually introduce someone that's a little... I had that stuff in my yard. That was like Pennywort or something. All the Creeping Charlie? Or are we talking about this guy? I don't think you're talking about this guy. This is a pretty... This fella right here is a very common. But yeah, I actually don't mind Creeping Charlie so much because even though it's kind of technically of a weed, it's really easy to pull. It's really easy to pull. I can just like if there's like a whole bunch of it somewhere, I can just like tear through it very quickly. But yeah, what we have, oh, the Charlie, okay, yeah. Because Pennywort, if I remember right, it has a circular flower where the stem is in the center. If I remember right, but I don't think Pennywort's common where I'm at, because I think Pennywort is edible, which I'm actually going to reference my book here for that. Because I'm actually curious about that, because I vaguely remember Pennywort being edible and actually being like full of lots of nutrients. But I do want to double check before. Pennycrest, Pennyroll, American, page 140. Got pretty close, Okay, grill over the ground. Ground ivy. Okay, so that was... okay, that's why. Okay. Well, there's reasons why you thought the Charlie was... Well, actually, wait. So, up here, if we get this out. So, this is the American Pennyroyal, right here, and here's the Creeping Charlie. Whereas, like, the Creeping Charlie's got more like a scalloped, like, leaf, with, like, a short stem, where it seems like the... Well, this is granted American Pennyroyal. Maybe not necessarily be Pennywort. Granted, I only had like one penny in here. I'm gonna double check. And all of these are all recommended for tea, though. Oh yeah, because there's also Pennycrest. Dried leaves. Okay, so the Creeping Charlie actually is good for tea. I might have to try that. So my field Pennycrest field 26. Is this the one? Nope. I have research to do. But yeah. Now we have this guy. This is poor man's peppergrass. And this is something I really like snacking on. Because it's got a bit of a kick to it. And I kind of like my... I like my plants that... I like my edible plants that have a little bit of flavor to them. And this is actually a really, really good example of a plant with actually some good flavor to it. Now, generally speaking, you can use the leaves here. They're like good for salads. And yeah, it's also very distinctive. because you have these like big flat seed heads that come off a stem. Also, you generally and as a filthy suburbanite, this stuff grows everywhere. Particularly, it really likes what's called disturbed ground. So, and by disturbed ground, it's basically ground that maybe you've recently built a walkway, maybe you did like a big construction project, maybe you had to have a new water line dug and installed. But wherever ground is disturbed, this stuff loves to show up. And I do like it. It's got a nice peppery kick to it. Now this is actually it in its full like seed form. Well, fully reproducing out. But in early spring, it mostly grows as like a basil rosette, and then it sends up all these big shoots with leaves. And then you got all this peppery goodness. But yeah, Poor Man's Peppergrass. Actually, I'm going to check and see if my book has any more insights for me. Because I know it's used as a pot herb, it's used a little bit for seasoning. It definitely adds a nice, lovely kick to a good salad. But who knows? Pokeweed. I thought about talking about you, but I don't like talking about stuff that's a little on the sketch side. Wait, peppergrasses. Similar to cowcrest. Throughout rare and far north, and it's mostly used as seasoning, pot herb, and salads. Yeah, so you can also use it as a pot herb, which it actually does have some plants that it is similar to. Which actually, I do actually have Poor Man's Peppergrass, because Cow's Crest here, which has a very similar form, has smooth. What's the genus for that plant again? It is Lindipidium. Lepiddium. I think that's Lindipidium. But the cowcrest has smooth leaf margins, whereas the Poor Man's Pepper has a serrated one. Lo and behold, I have a serrated one. This is also a big reason why, when it comes to like plant identification and such, you generally speaking, illustrations serve you better than photos. Photos are nice, but granted, the funny thing is, there's a online forager I follow. His name's Green Dean, and he eats weeds and talks about eating weeds. Pretty cool guy. But he makes a joke about how all the field guides, the plants look like they grew in Ohio. And what he means by that is all the plants, generally speaking, all the plants are in like their standard state. Oh, it's in Nebraska. Ah, cool. Nice research there. Granted, we actually, well, I am going to play with brassicas here in a bit, later. But yeah, when it comes to pictures, they just tend to look like a standard, like base version of said plant. Ooh. Like, those are black locust blossoms that I was kind of mentioning earlier. And I hope there was a few power flickers just there. Also, it did have a pretty significant storm roll through, so if stream just dies, my power went out. It hasn't happened yet, but I'm sure. Oh wow. Pictured section in that book wasn't really a lot. But yeah, poor man's peppergrass. Really good seasoning. Really good to add a little bit of a spice to salads. Granted, there's just not a lot of there's not too much material as far as like the leaves are concerned, but you get some pretty nice seasoning with the seed heads and such. This is actually a plant where if I'm out in the garden, the yard doing stuff, and I just see one of these seed heads lying around, I'll just reach down, grab it, and just make a light snack of it. It is a great plant to make light snacks of. So that's that one. Let's grab this bad boy. And you know what? You're muddy. Yeah, you're very muddy. So we're gonna get this bad boy out. But yes, it is plantain. Or plantago. However you want to say it. But yeah, this is basically the standard pot herb of Eastern North America. Native to parts of Eurasia. It grows everywhere. Everywhere. This plant is so prolific that the Native Americans, when the silly Europeans were showing up, they actually called this white man's foot, because wherever the white people showed up, they showed up. And also, if you're a fellow suburbanite, you probably see a fair amount of this, because this is actually a plant that can take a lot of foot traffic. This is also another plant that likes waste ground, similar to the poor man's peppergrass from earlier, and is also very firmly within pot herb territory. Granted, I do want to try a small piece of a tender leaf, and then just see how it is. Okay, veggie. Some bitterness, okay. But not really bitter. It's kind of more of a mellow bitterness to it. That's interesting. Not bad. Interesting. Granted, so there's reasons why I looked for, in particularly, a young leaf. Because if I take a leaf, say way over here, that's yellowing a little bit, and ooh, there we go. These leaf stems are very fibrous. This is actually a really good source of fiber out in the woods, and by fiber I mean fiber for twine. If you want to do DIY some lashing, this is actually a fairly fibrous plant, and generally speaking can give you nice short strands of fiber. Personally, if I have options where I get my fiber from in the woods, if I'm say in a survival situation or something, I would rather work with cattail leaves. Cattail leaves are really good, and they're generally a bit better. But you can make do with the humble plantain. However, though, the plantain has other good uses. Primarily because, say you're in a survival situation, or out in the woods, or doing something, whatever, and you get a cut, and you don't have a readily available band-aid. But you have plantain, and ideally a rock. And what you can do is, you take the leaf, take it to your rock, and you want to shake the leaf back and forth on the rock. And what you want to do is you want to break up all the plant cells to release the inner juicy goodness that's on the inside. And then you can take the leaf that has been damaged, and then you can apply it to your arm, whatever part of you that's hurting. And these leaves actually have a pretty decent antibacterial properties. And a fun story about this plant. Once upon a time, my grandmother, she asked me about this plant because she reads Amish newspapers, and she was like, "Hey, Sugi, yeah, this Amish newspaper was telling me about this plant that you could just take the leaves, put them in your mouth, chew them up, and then take the wad and put that wad on the wound to." Because they actually do have some decent, like, blood stopping blood from bleeding, like uses and chemicals in them. And I was just like, I don't really like the idea of taking a leaf and putting it into my mouth and then making a chew wad and putting it on a wound. But I was aware of the fact that you can use these as essentially as a form of band-aid, and if you're in a pinch. Now, if you have access to actual band-aids, please use those. But in a pinch, Plantago's got your back as far as like a quick and easy band-aid. Now, generally speaking, its uses, it is definitely very heavily a pot herb. Very heavily a pot herb. And I'm also going to reference my book again because a certain someone didn't do as much research as he could have done before the stream. So this should be, it should be under PL. Wait, is it plantains common? Yes, page 46. Whoa. Huh. Plants. Low, homely plants, flowers greenish white, tiny and tight, slender heads at the top of leafless stem, leaves in basal rosettes. Use salad, cook, green, chop, add to salads, or boil 10-15 minutes, and serve with butter. Collect common plantain leaves while very young, as they soon become too stringy for use. Okay, checks out. But yeah, that's plantain. Almost kind of the quintessential pot herb of foraging, just because it's very common. Now, there's also, so this is, I'm pretty sure, the common plantain. There's another version of this where the leaves are narrower and the seed heads are different. So with that one, the seed head, so you see we have a stalk and then we have a long seed head. There's a version of plantain where you have a long stalk, but like a small seed head. This is the large version of that. And with that, yeah, these seeds, which you can actually just send your hand down the stem and collect yourself a nice little, like, good old handful of Plantago seeds. You can eat the seeds. You do not perhaps wish to eat too many. And there's a reason for that. Unless you want a certain event to happen. Is the seeds of Plantago make for a fantastic bulking laxative. And for those in the audience who may not know what a bulking laxative is, a bulking laxative is a very fibrous substance that you can eat a fair amount of to help with the bowel movements. So, hey, if you're someone who's in a pinch for a laxative, Plantago's got you. But yeah, it's generally a pretty useful plant. I mean, well, pretty useful, but I don't do a lot of stuff with. It's because I've eaten mulberry berries before. I've snacked on white clover flowers. I've snacked plenty of times on poor man's peppergrass. But Plantago being more of a plant herb, well, not plant herb, a pot herb, has kind of kept it away from me as like a thing to use, because that's kind of like a downside to foraging, is that you have to collect the plants, then you have to prepare the plants, and then you can eat the plants. Whereas I'm personally very fond of the plants that I can just grab and use for a quick and light snack. Which, white clover flowers fall into that bracket, poor man's pepper falls into that bracket, or stuff I can just quickly throw into a salad. Which, I can do that with violet flowers. I actually did collect some violet, but I don't think I'm going to yap about them too much because, well, kind of yapped about them earlier. And while violet leaves are edible and generally not really a bad experience, they're a little bit more bitter, but really violet flowers are where it's at. Like, violet flowers are really good. One of my definitely a favorite springtime addition to a salad is some violet flowers. I really do enjoy some violet flowers. Good stuff. Good stuff. So, okay. I think that is going to be the end of the... That's going to be the end of the yapping. The general yapping. Instead, we're going to actually move to... Yeah, we're going to move to you guys. You wonderful, wonderful, wonderful plant. So what I have here are the young, really young. These are the young shoots of Smilax. Smilax rudeifolia, which I have my sample behind me. So you might be wondering what Smilax rudeifolia is. It is a climbing shrub. Has vaguely heart-shaped leaves, kind of heart-shaped leaves, nice smooth margin. It does bear thorns, so be careful when you're handling it. It's a pokey boy, it likes to poke you. And then it has all these fun tendrils, which it uses to grasp and climb. The fun thing about this plant is, so you would think some things are either vines, some things are shrubs. This thing is technically a climbing shrub. It grows as like a mass that also climbs, because some of these shoots from under here, this plant was trying to break into my windows, man. And when plants break into my windows, I eat them as revenge. But yeah. So, Smilax. Generally speaking, the only thing you really wish to concern yourself with is the young, tender parts. Stuff down further on the stem, you do not wish to consume at all, because it's going to be too tough and fibrous, and the cell walls are too far developed for it to really even be worth your while whatsoever. So, when you're harvesting these stems here, what you basically do is, for me, I'll start like at the bottom, kind of at a spot around here where the leaves are kind of developed, and I'll just flex the stem, go up, flex the stem, go up, and flex the stem. And then I do that until the stem snaps easily in my hands, which I kind of want to do this with this, but I don't. Well, let's go ahead. Should snap, but it did not snap. But that's because I harvested it and it's losing water. So the cell walls aren't as like rigid, but still like not as like developed. So I can't do the snap here, fortunately. But you can tell with the leaves, the really young leaves have a really nice shining color to them. Whereas that shininess that kind of just dulls as the what the cuticle develops, which the cuticle is like the top surface of the leaf. That's the part that keeps like leaves water repellent and such. But yeah, that's the cuticle. Now, generally speaking, Smilax it's bred by birds. It does produce mealy, not particularly worth your time berries. I'm scratching my brain cells because I do have a really bad tendency to just take what I know is an edible plant and just pop parts of it into my mouth. Granted, there are plants you do have to be careful about because there are some parts that are edible and other parts that are not. A really good example of that is tomatoes and potatoes, because yeah, you don't want to eat the leaves on those plants because those leaves are actually poisonous. The fruit is fine, is good. Feel free to add that to a salad. Feel free to enjoy that. But as for the leaves of tomato, don't enjoy. So that's a bit of an introduction to Smilax. Now, I actually am planning on doing like a little bit of cooking today. Because, well, that's what I want to do. And generally speaking, once I get these like stems off the end of the Smilax, I generally have eaten these historically in the past by just taking them and popping them into my mouth and just eating them like that. That is how I've done things historically. But today, I've heard of other ways to prepare them, and I would like to prepare it that way. It's just like, hey, we're streaming, we're doing a thing, let's try something out. So, what I'm gonna do is, as you can kind of see here, we've got long, green, stemmy looking vegetable goodness. Does it remind you of something? Asparagus, perhaps. We're gonna cook this like asparagus, which is also the reason why I have the burner here. Originally, I was planning on doing this as a fireside stream. I'm very thankful I'm not doing this as a fireside stream. So, I need to grab one handy dandy cast iron skillet. And let's see, I need a plate. I'm not as prepared as I would like to be, but you know what? That is fine. That is more than fine. So, we're gonna have that. How do I want to manipulate these? I need a manipulator. There we go. And then I need to grab some butter. And some butter. Okay, let's get this burner going. And then I'm going to do this butter I'm going to do this burner on a really low heat. But yeah, ooh yeah, that's great. That's great. That's fine. That's wonderful. So, while our pan heats up, I am going to grab a very generous helping of butter. Mostly because I don't typically eat a lot of butter in my day-to-day life. So, I'm kind of looking for excuses to just go through my butter. And we're going to melt the butter. The rest goes back into the magic cooler. Go into the cooler. So we're gonna just let this butter melt up. And then once the butter is fully melted, we'll add in our Smilax. And we'll start cooking. And the only thing I'm super worried about is if I get the heat a little too high, because that's the thing I gotta watch out with this propane burner is it can definitely put out heat. I want to keep the heat as low as I can without losing my flame. Because that's generally speaking a thing that happens. Is okay, and with that, the butter is now fully melted. And we'll just add our Smilax. And we're just gonna basically cook this as like nothing all that dissimilar from, say, let's see, what's the asparagus? We're basically cooking asparagus, but we're doing it with wild plants. And I also wanna. This is making me a little bit hungry. Grab some poor man's pepper grass for a snack. But yeah, now it's starting to really soft up. Wow. Yeah. So we're gonna have some nice, delicious, buttery Smilax. Something I really like. So yeah. But yeah, this was also something that I saw on Eat the Weeds channel that he did. And now, generally speaking, I've always found Smilax to be delicious enough as like a trailside snack. I never really thought about doing this, so today I figured we'll try something good, but cooked a little bit decently. Well, actually took the time to actually prepare reasonably properly. Versus just like, plant. I can make food out of this by just taking off plant and inserting into mouth, which is generally how I eat my plants. I tend to go with like really simple salads, really easy, not really all that, nothing terribly complicated. But hey, you know what? As a guy on the internet doing this, the next thing I'm going to do is kind of a bit more involved. And that's kind of the game plan for today. So I think that's reasonably cooked down. I am going to turn burner off. Woo! Actually, is this handle hot? Yeah, it's not. Great. Woo! And that's Smilax cooked in butter. And I used way too much butter. I could have went a lot lighter on the butter. But, so, I used unsalted butter. So, I have a little bit of salt here. Just give it a little bit of a salt. Because, you know, that's the stuff that makes, like, everything, like, just unequivocally taste good. Is butter and salt. If something doesn't taste good, just throw butter and salt at it. Until it tastes good. And then I just want to grab one of my stems that I've cooked. And I just want to try it. Ooh! Wow! Okay. Okay. Eat the weeds. My gosh, that's good. I like that. That's really good. Mmm. Man, butter does make everything taste better. Oh, man. I mean, it's basically like a thinner, lighter version of asparagus. And it's a wild edible plant. Okay. Well, first cooked thing of stream, well, actually first cooked thing of 2 is done and successful. Cast iron, go hang out over there. We're gonna have, ignore the broccoli. The broccoli is not, it's an edible plant, but not a wild edible plant. So, for our next plant, I have here a giant bundle of white clover flowers. Now, some of the stems are long, some of the stems are short. I'm trying to pick out, make sure I have a nice bundle of white clover flowers. Oh, smells amazing. But yeah, Latin name, Trifolium repens. This is a very common waste area plant, which has also been a really consistent theme here, is waste area plants. And yeah, but yeah, the flowers are edible. They are not super edible, because I'm going to take this one and I'm going to eat it. But yeah, I mean, it's got like a reasonably pleasant, like floral flavor to it. As you can see, when you pick the flowers, you end up with all these stems, and the stems, really tough. But the flowers are really floral, almost a hint of sweetness to them. Pretty good stuff, pretty good stuff. At least as far as like edible wild plants are concerned. Reasonably good stuff here. But I need to kind of trim this up. Like that. So, stems go over there. So, we got a nice bowl of flowers here. Now, I do have over here a bundle of the leaves. So, just to have them out for identification. So, generally speaking, clovers. Clovers are a member of the Trifolium family. Trifoliums always have the leaves kind of meet in a pseudo T. Now, granted, I didn't pick any oxalis leaves just to show, because oxalis is a very common lookalike. In my area, oxalis has yellow flowers, most of the species around me. White clover will have white flowers. Also, they will be very pea-like in terms of a flower. Because that's basically what the white clover seed head is a cluster of pea-like flowers on the seed head. Now, pea-like flowers. Sounds like a member of the legume family. That's because white clover is a member of the legume family. But yeah, the identification is generally pretty simple. I will say that I have a better example of the Trifolium genus over here. And I need to take my plate off to the side because I do not wish to get dirt on my plate because I wish to eat that food later. But yes, this is red clover. And you can see the characteristic of you have 2 leaves basically in parallel and then one on the other side. So it's basically very T-shaped. Then, who knows? Container? Dirty hands. Fun. Let's see, do we have... Oh, yeah, we got a few on this guy. Okay, let's get in here. Let's get in here a little bit, because these are actually really hard to see, and my webcam does not support really high levels of resolution, but you can kind of see there's a little bit of a node on the root that I have my fingers on. That node is actually a what's called a nitrogen nodule. And this is a thing that members of the legume family will do, is they will build a beneficial relationship with nitrogen-fixing bacteria and fix nitrogen to the soil. So clovers do really well in areas where there's not a lot of nitrogen in the soil, and they thrive in areas where other plants don't. They also are great at adding nitrogen to the soil. Really good stuff to have, really good to have growing around. Granted, it can get a little bit weedy, but it is what it is. So, today's big ambition, which I think, wait, did I foobar myself? Did I not take care of the current version of myself? Because I have to look up a thing. Because I want to do a thing with the eastern white clover flowers. That is exactly what I thought I did. Okay, cool. So, we're actually going to be doing a thing with the white clover flowers. It's going to involve the whisk. It's going to involve a couple of things. But I'm going to make tempera with the white clover flowers. But I need flour first. So I'm going to go get some flour. And yeah. Actually, wait a second. Original recipe. Okay, so if I do that. Yep, okay, cool. So I'm going to throw the BRB screen. I'm going to go run grab some flour, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. I have all my ingredients now. And yeah. Well, I kind of have all my stuff set up. Hey. Oh, that's okay. There's a lot of ingredient shuffling that's gonna just occur over the next while. So bear with me. Granted, I'm also doing a thing for the first time, so that's just generally how life goes when you do things for the first time. So I'm gonna make my tempura batter in this bowl, and for that I need one egg. Egg! Man, that butter's good. So, I just want one egg white. So, I'm going to try to just get one egg white. And keep just the... Oh! Well, that was an attempt. That was an attempt. I was not successful in my attempt. Oh! However, though, that's why I have spoons. So I'm just gonna remove a decent bit of the yolk. Or at least I attempted to. Oh well. No big deal. So, make a tempura batter. You just take your egg white. In my case, egg white with yolk. And I just need to do this until it's frothy. Okay, that seems reasonably frothy. Okay. You go back over there, because you're covered in stuff, man. I'm gonna grab some I'm gonna grab some stuff that I'm not super comfortable handling. But I try to handle it anyway. That's flour. And we kind of want half a cup, and I once again foodbarred myself and only grabbed my 1/3 measuring cup because I need 1/3 of a cup of water. But I reckon that's about the amount of flour I need. So with that, this will go in there. Flour goes off to the side. Grab some water. And then I can actually use 1/3 cup of flour. So, with all that, granted, I'm actually going to do one more thing. And that one more thing is soy sauce. Yeah. And just hit this with a little bit of soy sauce just to give the tempura batter a little bit of goodness. And I can now start folding. So I just have to like fold and incorporate and mix all this. And then we'll have a tempura batter. Granted, I like how it says fold and incorporate. And I feel like I should have just whisked it. But ooh. Okay. I think we are looking reasonably good with the batter. I mean, this is looking pretty battery. Granted, this is actually my first time making tempura, so feel free to judge me. By all means, feel free to judge me. Okay, so that's the tempura batter prepared. I'm actually gonna, so for the actual frying portion, I'm gonna be using 100% canola oil. And for this deep frying experience, yeah, let's just throw this whole bottle at it. Let's be crazy. Because we're cooking with wild edible plants here. Gotta be crazy. And burner, because I do want to get this going. So I've got the propane burner set to a reasonably good heat. So that should get the oil nice and hot for us. But we still have a very important step. I've got cornstarch here. Then the cornstarch, I'm gonna just take all my, I want to give a smell of this. It's so nice and floral. And then I'm gonna take my flowers, and I'm just gonna make sure I get a nice even coating of cornstarch on everything before we start, because everything is going to get dipped in cornstarch. So we get a nice coating on it. Then once we have everything nicely coated in cornstarch, I'm going to bring it over into the batter, and we're gonna batter this up. And then once it's battered, I'm going to throw it into this bowl for frying. I want to grab all my flowers. I think I got one more left. One straggler. Cool. That's the flowers. I can do this. Okay. Then I'm just going to evenly mix everything in here. And then once I feel like I got enough batter on my flowers, I'm going to pull them out. I'm just going to let the batter drip out. And then set everything on the bowl off to the side. Over there. Hang out over there, please and thank you. And forkadoodles. So I'm gonna use the fork to grab like the stragglers. Stragglers, man. Let's see, where's... Because I saw a green stem. Got one. Okay. What's that? Oh, there's another one. One more straggler. I'm gonna get the... Probably should take the cornstarch and put it off to the side. And batter doesn't taste pretty good. Okay. Ooh. Things are looking kind of good at the burner. So I want to grab a little bit of water. And by a little bit, I mean like a drop. Okay, so it fizzles a little bit, so my temperature is getting close. But I still have a little ways to go before I have the temperature I want, which actually better is we're starting to get to where we want to get with our frying. Okay, I think we're getting really close. So we're gonna take one flour and add it in. So we're getting some pretty good frying action going on. Just gonna keep adding a few more. And I'm just gonna go with that for now. And I'm gonna grab a paper towel and clean off my slotted spoon, because this slotted spoon's original purpose was to grab my tempura from my vat of oil. Woo! It's fun to do new things. Okay, so everything's free floating on the surface. Good, good, good. Also, please do bear with me, because this is my first time making tempura. I'm new to this. Right now, I'm just gonna check them occasionally. Granted, I think I can probably turn my heat down a little bit. Granted, I'm not sure. Actually, wait a second. Hey, tempura batter recipe. Do you have... fry it until golden brown and crispy. Okay. In Pacific instruction... Well, kind of giving me an idea of what I need to do. Just need to go for a nice golden brown color. Which... kind of almost have that. Almost have that. But I think I'm going to let these just cook a little bit longer. Let's see. How about... we'll just do one more minute and we'll see what we get. I'm pretty optimistic it'll be good. Right there, death. Ooh. Ooh, I'm liking the smell. It smells good. It smells good, man. Okay, I think they're browning up pretty nicely from what I can tell. So let's go ahead, pull that out. And we're, ooh, nice, like, clang onto the plate. Okay. So I'm gonna call that batch 1. Well, round 1 done. Which, if I can get to my plate. Yeah. Pretty okay for tempura, I think. So, feeling pretty optimistic here. So I'm just gonna grab more. I'm actually just gonna go ahead and grab the rest of these. And I'm also going to try and add them in as separate bits. So I don't, trying not to get clumps. Woohoo! Look, parents, your boy's finally making tempura. Ow. Woohoo! Yep, that's oil. That's hot oil, all right. And we're making tempura with wild edible plants. Granted, we're actually not going to be... Ooh, wow. That heat actually got really up. Because those are golden browning really quickly. Ooh. I got to watch this. I got to really watch this. I can't take my eyes off of it. Bad things would probably happen if I took my eyes off of it. Okay. Like, wow, those just ground up so quickly. Yep. Yep. So we're gonna just work on these out. Slowly but surely. There we go. With that, that is the last of the tempura white clover flowers. So, I still have a lot of batter left for the tempura. And I'm ambitious. So, I'm going to be taking... I got some broccoli here. And I'm going to basically piece it out. Now, broccoli is not a wild edible plant, but it is an edible plant. So, we're still at least on part of our theming for today when we're working with broccoli, but oh man. But yeah, I'm gonna get all this broccoli into my batter. How do I want to incorporate this? I think the fork will be better. Yeah, fork's better. Come on, broccoli. Absorb all the batter. Use up all my batter, please and thank you. I need all my batter gone. I believe in you. Believe in the vegetables that nourish you. Oh no. I'm too far gone. As a weeb. Okay. Okay, I think that's about as reasonably well incorporated with the tempura batter. So, we're going to move over to cornstarching. And we'll start getting these guys cornstarched. And then once I have them cornstarched, we can move into... I actually used up a pretty good chunk amount of the batter I made. Nice. Cool. How do I want to do this? stir. Just stir. Let's just go for it, Sugi. But yeah, this is generally my first time making tempura, so if people want to just point at me and laugh and be like, you're doing this wrong, what are we whipping up? We're making tempura right now with broccoli is what we're whipping up right now, which I'm trying to cornstarch it, and I didn't get enough of the wetness of the batter. So I'm going to hit it with a little bit more cornstarch and incorporate that cornstarch, and then we're going to throw it into our very warm fry oil, which I should probably keep dropping the temperature of. But yeah, so we've mostly been eating like wild edible plants today, but I knew I was going to end up with like additional batter left over, so I pulled some broccoli out of the garden, and we're just kind of just incorporating that, which honestly, I think the broccoli's reasonably cornstarched, reasonably battered. And we're gonna fry. Woo! I've never really been much of a fried food person, so this is new territory for me. But a lot of what I do on this channel is just trying new stuff, which, yeah, really glad I killed the heat. Boy, oh boy, that's gonna get cooked. Brandon, do I got another plate? Yes! We have another plate. Because I'm going to use another plate. Because I'm actually going to have the broccoli separate. Because... Hey. Are you... But yeah, this is what we made tempura of earlier. Eastern white clover flowers. Ooh. That's a good. That's a good. Okay, you got cooked, buddy. You got really cooked. Oh my gosh, that's good. That's really good. Oh my gosh. Wow. Wow. Oh man. That is definitely in make that again territory. Wow. Okay, cool. Let's get some of that broccoli out. And we got more broccoli to add. Because, well, I have ingredients and I'm very much a use up what I have sort of guy. Oi, oi. Tell us the flavors. What? I'll give some details on the flavors once I have some time. But I want to get all this broccoli done up. Because we're going for gold. Well, we're going to get it all done in one fell swoop. I'm getting hungry with how much you're hyping it up, man. Actually, wait, did I keep any of my Eastern white clover flowers? Because I've got this stick. We We don't spill food. Oh yeah, there it is. There was one white clover flower that did not get turned into tempura. I'm gonna set that there. As for this, I have a pot of fry oil, which I just killed the heat. Like fully, completely. Not like just turned it down a little bit. Because that's actually what I did earlier. Ooh. Man, deep frying is exciting. Man, this might be me getting a little too in over my head though. Because I've deep fried turkeys with my family, but this is my first time like making a dish like this. This is new territory, so. And I want the food to be here. Because we have garden veg tempera'd, and then we have our wild plant dish. Wild plant dish is the dish with the flowers on it, which it's kind of funny how coincidentally that turned out to be a thing. Okay, so some of these are definitely getting done. We'll get them out. Yep, looking good, looking good. The broccoli sizzling. I think it's definitely a little too light for the mic to be picking up though. Okay. There we go. Okay. Yay! Okay. So, what we have here is Eastern, well, it's not Eastern, it's just white clover flour, tempura version, and here's the non-tempura version. So, bottoms up. Oh man. So, the egg whites flour coating of the tempura batter, this stuff gives it a nice breadiness to it, whereas like cooking it in a neutral oil definitely gave it some like a little bit of a fat content. Wow. Okay, I need to get a picture of my food before I eat it all. But wow, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Because I did use a little bit of soy sauce, and that did give me a little bit of saltiness, but we're just gonna hit this with a really fine small additional bit of salt. I'll do that for the broccoli tempura as well. Okay. But yeah, tempura made out of wild edible plants. I pulled out my yard like 2 hours ago. Man, that's actually really good. Now, man, I have to make tempura with black locust blossoms now, because that's what inspired me to do this. As I've heard of people using black locust blossoms for tempura, and that sounded really good. So I wanted to try with white clover, because white clover is also in the legume family, basically the same family as black locust, And I gotta say, this was good. This is really good. Which I'm also gonna try and find a picture of Black Locust in my book. Because when I was going through this book earlier, there was definitely... there we go. So these white flowers here, those are Black Locust blossoms. Now, the season for those has passed where I'm at, but after having the tempera from white clover flowers, like this stuff, man, that's so good. Because like the deep frying gives it like a bit of a shell, but it has like a soft exterior. Well, no, hard exterior, soft like inner part, but man, it's just good. It's just good. It's like veg with bread, but not a sandwich. Because there's oil involved and heat, but it's good. And I'm gonna crack open a non-alcoholic cold one. Oh wait, can I get a non-battered fork? Please and thank you. Non-battered fork. So, the earlier thing I cooked was this stuff. It doesn't really look like much now, but this is Smilex rudifolia, and I basically cooked the young stems of this like asparagus in butter, and then added a little bit of salt to finish it off. It's good. Granted, I mean, I'm going to describe nearly anything that's cooked in butter, but it's really good. And I was really happy it turned out good because I knew you could prepare Smilex like that, but I never tried to actually like take the time to do it. Mostly because I eat it as a trail side snack. But man, this is good. Granted, I'm really happy the tempura turned out well. I think maybe not, and I don't know when, because originally I was planning this as like doing this around the campfire, but it's been in the 90s and it's a little too warm to be standing over a fire pit cooking outside right now. No, it's way too warm. So I brought the stream inside for today, and I gotta say, I will be making tempura over the fire pit at some point. Ooh, that one had a nice crunch. My gosh. Man, that's good stuff. You know what? I was trying to think of something. But yeah, it's like popcorn. Like the tempura. The white clover tempura. Eating this is like... It's like a bready popcorn. And I love it. I really like it because the thing with Eastern white clover is it has these really long, stringy stems, which before I've eaten white clover as an addition into salads. But when you deep fry the stems, they turn It does look like popcorn too. Yeah. Yeah, but it's literally like bready, vegetably popcorn. It's good. It's good. I'm happy with it. It's not every day. It's not every day I give an idea just like a shot for a whim and be like, let's try this out. And it actually turns out really good. This turned out really good. Actually, haven't had any of my broccoli though. Actually, wait a second. I don't know if I hit my broccoli with some salt. Because I've already cooked this stuff in fat. I might as well at least try to... I gotta at least do enough to get my doctor angry at me. But I can at least say, hey doc, you told me to eat more vegetables. Ooh. 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 Good. Oh my gosh. Yes. Yes. All the salt. But yeah. Really good though. Really good. It's a lot. It's like steamed broccoli, but with like a bread layer. Granted, I mean, that's basically what makes tempura amazing, is it's like vegetables with bread cooked in oil. This is a new culinary frontier to me, and I like this. Like, almost makes me wish I grabbed some of my daikon radishes and tried making those into tempura. That could have been really good. And I just kind of love the fact that the broccoli kind of just melts in my mouth. My goodness gracious. You know what? I'll give this a 10 out of 10. Because I was expecting this to be bare bones minimal. Okay, just like a good okay. But this is like a good. This is like, I want to do this more. This is good food. I like this good food. I'm gonna have some more of my knockoff asparagus, my stringy knockoff asparagus. Great, my goodness gracious, that stuff is buttery as hell. I definitely used way too much butter when I was cooking that. My goodness. Okay. Okay, so I'm not gonna eat all of this right here, right now, because, well, this is really delicious food, and I don't want to be tempting you guys with delicious food that you guys can't have, because I'm here and you're not. So, and yeah, and all those various fun things. So I'm gonna go ahead and be wrapping up stream today. So I want to say thank you very much for listening to my silliness, yap about wild edible plants, and also do some cooking with them, and really explored some new territory. This will be done again. I will do this again. I have to do this again. So far, I kind of just did it as a whim. I like experimenting. And it's also one of the things I want to do on the channel, is like try new things, expand my skills. And today I made tempura with wild edible plants, and I was really happy with the results. So, with all that said, stream. But yeah, thank you very much for tuning in, and I hope everyone out there has a great rest of your day, evening, night, whatever it is, wherever you are at, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.